So Archery Country, I've been running it and managing it and doing all this stuff for a long time. Through that time, Rogan has come in, Joe's come in, and I kind of began a friendship with Joe. And I feel like I'm hoping he would say the same thing. My friendship with him started with when one of the first times he came in, I was just trying to be the cool guy to him. I was like, look, man, I basically was like, I will never broadcast out that you're here. I don't want to do what I thought like everybody else would do. And which was, in my opinion, they were going to be like, hey, bro, can we get a picture? And then post on the Archery Country Instagram, hey, this is Joe's Bow Shop and stuff like that. I was like, I won't ever do that, dude. I was like, I want you to have a safe space. I'm old school Austin. Like, I've been here. I know all the people that come through here. And I was like, just make it a safe space, dude. You can come in anytime you want. I was like, here's my phone number. Come on days when we're not open. That way you don't get, like, ear raped by this guy who's trying to just tell you his business ideas or whatever it is. And so I was like, come anytime you want, dude. I was like, you can come in and hang and do all this stuff. And there's no strings attached. I'm not going to have you post on Instagram for me. I don't want any of that stuff or Facebook, any of that stuff. I was like, just make it a safe space, dude. So for a couple of years, that's what we did, man. Joe would come in, he'd call me and be like, hey, I want to come in on Wednesday morning early. And I'd be like, yeah, get here at this time, whatever. So the super short version is end of last year, me and Brendan and Alan were all going through all the stuff, and we were going to invest some money in like shirts and hats and stuff like that. And then that turned into us kind of being like, let's just take the money and kind of run from there and all that stuff. Which I wasn't for because I wanted to grow the business. Brendan and Alan were fine kind of doing whatever. And this isn't like a knock on Brendan and Alan. They're still really good friends of mine. Brendan's one of my best friends. I saw Alan today. They're friends of mine. Like, we stayed kosher, and that was my main deal through all this. But we hadn't come to an impasse on stuff. We had just come to a point where I was like, dude, I'm doing all of this stuff, and I feel like I have better ideas than y'all. Y'all feel like you have better ideas than me. I don't know who's right or who's wrong, but I feel like I'd like to try and buy y'all out, or I'd like to try and figure out how I can be the main dude here. So they both agreed. They were like, yeah, cool, we can entertain that. To my surprise, I was like, wow. So I had kind of floated that Joe might want to be a part of it at some point, not knowing how they would take that. Because hindsight's 2020. If I'd had thought about it, I wouldn't have said that, because they're going to be like, well, if Joe Rogan's going to buy the shop, I want $4 million for my share or whatever. So in my mind, they were going to come up with some crazy number and all that stuff.
But that was you being honest.
Yeah, for sure. So they had come back and were like, hey, dude, we want to see you thrive. We're both doing well in our other stuff and all that stuff. And they were basically like, here's what we think is a fair number to sell the shop. If you want to own it, you can do whatever you want with it. If you want to have partners, great. If you don't want to have partners, great. So for the longest time, I had been telling my wife, partners are terrible. And not that Brendan and Alan were terrible. I was like, I don't want a partnership anymore. I want to be the head cheese. I want to be the guy making all the decisions, because I don't want to take somebody who's not here. I don't want to have to listen to their opinion of the way they think it should run. I'm the boots on the ground guy. I'm in the trenches trying to figure this out. You're just looking at a P&L statement in my mind. Mm-hmm. So they had given me a price to buy them out. I was going through an SBA process to try and get that Small Business Association loan. I had kind of like gone to a bank and was trying to do all that stuff. In that time, last year, when was that? Well, it was the TAC in Salt Lake City, the Total Archery Challenge in Salt Lake City. So I was stuck there because that got hung. That was the weekend all of the internet went down and all the airports were jacked and you couldn't get out of anywhere and all that stuff. So I ended up staying with Josh Smith from Montana Knife Company, and he's like, hey, come with me tonight. I'm going to meet Evan Hafer. We're going to go, the Black Rifle Coffee owner guy. He's like, we're just going to go get a drink and eat a steak and hang out and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, cool. So we're all talking about business. They're talking about Black Rifle. He's talking about Montana Knife. And they're like, well, enough about us. They're like, what's going on with Archery Country? And I'm like, nothing, man. I'm trying to buy out my partners and do all this. And so Evan Hafer is like, well, hey, man, if you need money, just holler, dude. He's like, I'll loan you money to buy them out. Just buy them out. He's like, just get rid of your partners. He's like, I'll loan it to you. You can pay me back. How, we'll figure out a pay schedule and figure out that interest rate, and you can pay me back. And I'm like,
Evan's such a
wow,
good guy,
dude. I'm like, holy crap. So anyway, I'm like, well, look, it's an option, but I'm also like, I'm still going to try and do this on my own. I'm going to try and put this together. So that turned into coming back, Joe getting a new bow in September for his elk hunts. And same deal. I'm talking to Joe, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm trying to buy my partners out. I'm still going through. I had started the SBA process in April. Fast forward, it's September, and I still don't know from the SBA. And I've given them a lot of info. My kids left testicle. I've done all the stuff you're supposed to do in the SBA. So anyway, we go. I told Joe that, and Joe was like, man, you know what you should do? He's like, you should let me and Evan come in as business partners on this deal and really try and blow it up. And we had talked about that before, but I never really thought there was a way to do that, because I was like, how are we going to make that happen? They're going to ask for too much. And they had kind of given me numbers early on that I floated by Joe, and Joe's like, well, what does that give me? That's too much, whatever. So anyway, I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. So Joe calls me that night, texts me, and is like, hey, try and figure that out, dude. Let me and Evan come in as business partners. And I'm like, man, that's a wild thing to even think about. And so I had gotten done telling Evan, I'm not interested in having business partners at all. So in my mind now, I got to call Evan and be like, hey, have you come in on board? Joe's going to come in on board. Yeah, never mind. So Evan calls me the next morning, and he's like, dude, what'd you do to Joe? He's like, I spent a while on the phone last night with Joe talking about the possibilities of Archery Country and where we can take it. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, Joe's pretty fired up. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's crazy. And so we discussed numbers and all that stuff, and that turned into Evan and Joe buying out Brendan and Allen. We're still putting that whole deal together, but that's the bomb, is that it's kind of the worst kept secret in archery right now. Like everybody kind of halfway knows about it, because they're not hiding it. Like we're not publicly talking about it, but also people see Joe wearing our shirts more. He's talking about it. He had Cam on the podcast. Cam actually came in on the deal.
So it's a four-way.
It's the four of us. It's me, Evan, Cam, and Joe. And the plan is just to try and make it something that
I'm sure it's just going to be very just
we'll
low
just
key.
Yeah. Everybody that I talk to is like, the good thing is those guys don't touch anything and just hope it works out. Those guys are killers. So I'm like, well, let's hope they can take this fat turd and turn it into something. I can't wait to see
the commercials with the collab with Archery Country and Black Rifle Coffee. There's going to be bears. There's going to be
airplanes.
Somehow.
It'll look like D-Day and have
the UFC. We'll mix in some MMA fighters in there. It's going to be
UFOs. It'll be the whole
rumble of fucking testosterone.
That's very true. That's what we're hoping for. But yeah, no, it'll be cool. That's the bombshell, and it's cool, man. We've been working on a lot of stuff in the background, like trying to put it together and all that. It's been a long couple months, because this happened a while back, but we've been trying to piece together, structure it, and all that stuff, and do all that. But it's happening. It's going down, and it's
so.
Really
is there
cool,
anything you can share with everybody as far as the plan ahead?
Yeah. So the real plan is build a super brick and mortar here in Austin. Evan and Joe's kind of what they want to see happen is to build a mecca, if you will, or a place. At least when I talk to Evan and talk to Joe about it, it's kind of like, let's build something super special here in town, to where people will do like what they do for Joe. So people will plan. We have guys all the time that they live in Kentucky, and they're like, I don't know, man, I've always wanted to go to the mothership. I've always wanted to eat at Terry Black's. I've always wanted to go to see downtown Austin. Like, they just want to do that. Yeah. So they're basically like, they're going to make a trip to Austin. Yeah. And Evan was like, well, why don't we build the biggest, best archery shop in the world right here in Austin, have a Black Rifle in it, and make it a really cool cultural kind of center for archery. And we have a spot where people are driven to come to, and maybe now they really do make it a excursion to where they're like, I'm not going to go buy my bow at my local place. I want to wait till I go to Austin and do my Austin weekend, and I'm going to get my bow there and all that. So the super short plan is that, and then super swag out, like make it a cool brand. That's Evan's. That's what me and Joe have talked about, the exciting thing about it for us is Evan is a mega star at building a brand. And by that, I mean like taking...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like making something cool. So we're like, he's going to have shirts and hats and stickers and all of this stuff that we could never make that cool. But now we have the influencers to make it cool. Now we have a website that we can sell through and all that stuff. And have a really cool brand. Like make it to where people in rural Kentucky are wearing a Archery Country t-shirt because that's what Joe Rogan wears and that's what
Are you guys going to make your own bows? That's what everybody's wondering. Let me just
I don't
ask
know,
the
we
question everybody's wondering. Are you going to make your own fucking Joe Rogan, Cam Haynes, and Evan Hafer, Tyler Vanderkolk bow?
Our own bow. I'd be super sick. I don't know if we'll ever do that, but it's those guys'
I don't know if
money.
I like that answer. I think your first one should be called the goat.
The goat. The Spanish goat.
Yes. I'm just saying.
It does have a good ring to it.
I have good ideas. I'm like the idea guy.
I'll cut you in on a percentage of the sales of the Spanish goat.
I don't need to cut me in. Just sponsor my podcast.
You should see Cam Haynes' new Spanish goat. Keep hammering Spanish goat. Heck yeah, man.
Saying.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It'll be fun to see what we can do. Full disclosure, I don't know what it's capable of, but I do know now I'm in bed with some true killers that are guys that know how to make stuff happen. And I've always just faked it till I've made it. It's been one of those deals where I've been like, man, I'm just going to keep grinding and eventually this is going to come out. And these guys aren't that way. So it's going to be cool to see what we're capable of, trying to put it as modestly as I can. Like what Archery Country can turn into.
I think you undersell your capabilities and your skill sets. You started at 18.
Yep.
You ran your way through multiple businesses. You got locked up in a Mexican prison.
Yeah, man. There's lots of stories on that stuff.
And we didn't even touch into some of the
I
best stories.
I went long on your.
We're gonna go. No, fuck it. I don't give a shit. We're gonna do this again.
Yeah.
And you get to tell some of these other stories.
Nice.
And I'm sure everybody's gonna be curious to keep up with what's happening with everything.